Simba and I have just been on a long trip all the way up to the Swedish Lapland, down here from southern Sweden. We drove around 4,000 kilometers. That's about 2,500 miles. I have taken everything out of the Alu-Cab to check if everything is okay in there. There are some things we are going to check on the outside also. I discovered that I had done something with one of my tires. I have no idea how that happened, but we're going to change to the spare tire instead. If you saw my last video, you will know that in the last week on our way home we had a lot of rain. There are water coming in different places on this ModCAP Family Alu-Cab. Right here is a place where the water comes in. This is the inside of what I just showed you on the outside, and this Velcro can be taken off, and I learned that water comes in right here. You can see the light come in also from the outside. So the rain lands on the fabric, runs down, lands here and runs in. So this part down here can be filled with water, and I don't really know how, but this thing here can be filled with water, and then water runs down through that one. In the other side, up in this end, it's exactly the same. You can take off all the Velcro. The Velcro is on this mat right here, so you have to take it off the mat all the way. And here is also a rubber thingy, and there can be water all the way from this part up here, where it's the exact same problem. The water lands on the fabric, runs down, lands right here, as you can see, and runs in, gets under this rubber list, and can get all the way in here. So it's a good thing, if you experience that it gets wet, to take off all this Velcro. And also this mat is glued onto this, and I have had water come in here and run in under this mat, and under here you have this kind of foam material, and this whole area under the mat can be filled with water. So it's a good thing when you come home from a long trip where it has been very wet, take everything apart. And what I've done is that I actually just pulled this mat off all the way in here, and saw that there's another part that's lowered here with this foam also. I haven't experienced water getting into this part though, but I have checked all the way in here where I've had this up also, to really check if it's wet or not. Because if water gets trapped under here in the summer heat, yeah, you can imagine all the mold buildup you could get. So I'm very yeah, it's very important for me that I take everything apart and that it dries up completely before I put anything in here again. So but that's how you do it. That's how you get to this. So when you close it up again, you just put the Velcro down where it came from. One thing Alu-Cab recommends is that all the mounting bolts are checked on a regular basis. And since I just drove that long of a distance on all those gravel roads, bumpy roads, I feel it's a good time right now to check all the mounting bolts. And some of them are underneath this Velcro. So as it's up, it's good to check the bolts.
That was loose. Those bolts on this part right here, you have to be a bit careful with those, because the ones on the inside are just normal hexagon shaped. So if you tighten them too much, you risk that they just turn around in there and then it's not fastened at all. So just so you know, be careful with those. It would have been very good if the inside ones of these had been real T-slot shaped. Oh, it's helt løst.
That was a lot to tighten. You get why Alu-Cab recommends doing that on a regular basis. This Alu-Cab is now about a year old and I've used it extensively. And you can see the wear on the fabric, especially right here where it folds, but also here where it kind of get a bit squished by this gas strut. And also the fabric is not waterproof anymore. It would be a very good idea with some kind of rain fly on this part, and it's the same on the other side, both with the wear and the fabric not being waterproof. A rain fly, if it could get fixed on the roof and on the side there somehow, so the water wouldn't even touch this fabric, that would be very, very good. I must say though, I am very impressed with the roof window. This roof window, that's just plastic. This window was one of the things I was a bit worried about, how it would perform
with so much use, being opened and closed so much, and I used it in the winter when it gets all stiff in the cold, but it performs very well. Under my last video I got a comment from Chris, thank you Chris, where he asked me to talk about how well your truck and Alu-Cab and other equipment performed in the challenging conditions and long drives, and maybe some tips or ideas for other people who are interested in traveling above the Arctic Circle. I've already covered the Alu-Cab. The truck performed well, no issues at all there. About other equipment, Thomas just fixed the microwave again. It had popped off loose, the small screws couldn't handle all the bumpy roads. But yeah, I haven't used that much equipment. I haven't used any recovery gear at all. I've just been driving the nice roads. No no real challenges. So yeah, all in all, everything performed as expected and well, I think. About tips and ideas for traveling north of the Arctic Circle, I must mention the insects. You have to be mentally prepared for so many insects, all kinds of insects, biting flies and mosquitoes especially. What I do is I make sure they don't attack Simba, and then I just wear long clothes and ignore them for the most part. I made a Patreon post where I asked my Patreon members what they do, and there are some good advice in there, so head on over to my Patreon and read that post. But that is one thing. You have to be prepared for a lot of insects. And also, the first thing you need to do when you get up north of the Arctic Circle is to visit the Ájtte museum in Jokkmokk. It's a museum about the Sami people and the mountains. It's a very good idea to see that museum first thing, so you get an idea of that whole part of the area. And of course you have to go in and see the mountains on the west side towards Norway. That's a must. Yeah, I think that's it. If any of you have any other questions about anything, just please write a comment below and ask. But yeah, that was it for this time. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one.